to become enlightened. The pressure's on.
Put the gas.
Here we go. She's gone. Yeah. So this is it. We're it. How was that last one? When you were placing your mind on a mental object, what was that experience like compared to others? So that's the first question. So you have a minute or two to talk about it, because we're going to just refresh our motivation, and then we'll come back to that question. So here we are. We have this 1 hour left. We're going to use it to the best of our ability to really take the next step in whatever training for our mind is here at the moment. So we're going the next step in training our mind. And it's in the context of this entire desire to help others, to really truly be of benefit. Because if I do something and I have no idea how the result is going to come out, I may make big mistakes in helping others to get liberated from samsara or come to the enlightenment themselves. So in order to get other people to the point of being free of suffering and completely enlightened themselves, I need to develop my own mind. And I need to find the next step, the next limit that I've reached of where I've developed already. Find the next one and identify it, figure out how to do it, and go for it. So the training of our mind, mindfulness training, is what we're looking at in this next hour. So that's our motivation, for the benefit of all sentient beings, dogs, cats, birds.
It's a brackets question. It's not actually for the under the Theravada. They are working through Arat and not Bodhicitta, right?
So it depends on which Theravadan monk you talk to.
Motivation is self-motivation to get free.
I would be careful with making that statement, because it depends on which Theravadan monk you're talking about, or Theravadan practitioner you're talking about. Every time that they sit down, they chant, "May all beings be happy, may all beings be free of suffering." It's built into some of it, somewhere in there. There's a bodhicitta motivation. It's not done the same way. Some people in the Theravadan tradition are only concerned about gaining their own enlightenment and not thinking about others. Others in the same tradition are thinking about, how can I benefit the world? How can I benefit sentient beings? I would be careful. It got highlighted up until a few years ago. The term Hinayana was used in place of the word Theravadan, right? And Hinayana has this lesser vehicle connotation where you're only wishing for your own enlightenment. But the Theravadan traditions, coming out of the Pali language, coming out of the history of Buddhism in Sri Lanka and Thailand, the Southeast Asian corner there, that tradition isn't equal to the Hinayana view of I should do it for myself. It's not a mutually inclusive term. Mm-hmm. So, experience of a mental object, we jumped into it. And was it quite different, or?
Yes.
How?
Easier.
It was easier. What? I thought about that. I'm like, it's easier.
For me, it was easier.
Easier. Not easier.
It was more emotional.
More emotional.
Yeah, exactly.
More close to the heart.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Painful.
painful even. Sorry.
It's not you. It's the object.
The object is. Self-compassion. For some of us, self-compassion is one of the hardest things in the whole package. Oh, self-compassion is loving kindness directed toward the
It was
self.
interesting as well.
Yes?
In the beginning came thoughts concerning the object, very the general, and then was quietness only on the object without anything. Then comes some new point of view about that was not realized as the main issue before connecting to that. That was nice. It was after a quietness, I don't know how long, but
Yeah, time was warping.
so it was long enough to realize that here is it's quietness there now. I'm only focusing, nothing comes up. And then came new direction, then again quiet, and then new direction.
For me it was harder because I did not have anything to latch on to, because you said it was mental on mental. So I had it, but then I could not engage with it so much. Like I can engage with the sensation of the breath.
Good. Did anybody have any moments of using the breath? Like awareness that you're
Take out.
either to take out any extra irrelevant thoughts, or like maybe I'm concentrating on this mental object, but then my breathing was like 5-10% aware of, oh, I'm breathing too.
I think we're over there all the time.
It was there was an awareness on the breath as well. Okay.
I'm not sure for all the time, but the feeling was that I'm with it all the time.
So there was an element of being aware of breath.
Yes, absolutely. It was the anchor.
It was like the anchor. Yeah.
And for me it was hard. I had a lot of distractions, but I noticed that the distractions were people that I want for them the happiness. It was hard for me to stay with me, with myself only. Like relative, the people who are close to me.
What about, how did you engage with it? Did you repeat the phrase in your mind, like you're telling yourself, may I be, may I live, may I have, may I be, may I?
I did it only when it was quiet. I did it when it was already in it. I remember it. It was there. But when it came quiet again, I concentrate.
Did anybody experiment with trying to do it without formulating the words?
I start with the words, but I continue only with the feeling, the energetic feeling of the words.
Was there a difference in how the mind was in relation to the object?
Yes.
When you were doing it just as a feeling and just as a word?
But I don't understand the meaning that it's a mental object on mental.
Well, we have a physical object, and we have that as sort of an anchor for our attention. When we have a mental object, we have no physical distinction that we can say, I'm experiencing that at this time physically. We have to say, I'm experiencing this mentally at this time. And so it's mental on mental in a sense. It just came out of my mouth. It wasn't like a preconceived thing. But the sense is there's no physical anchor for that experiencing of the mental object. It's just the mental experience of a mental object instead of a mental experience, or a conscious experience, I should say, of a physical object. In that way, it's mental on mental. All right. It's fascinating study. How, and it's nice to share it because then we sort of have some concept of how it can happen a little differently, right? And then when we go into it the second, third, fourth, 100th time, it's always different. So we come with that fresh mind, right? Not expecting it to be exactly the way that we had it before. Not expecting it to be fitting a certain concept. I was quite surprised how it felt easy to do the mental object. It's like, oh, is this because I'm familiar with this? I'm not really familiar with these as a mental object, but am I familiar with taking a mental object and holding it? Maybe that's why, if we've trained our minds in holding a mental object, then it becomes easy, whatever that mental object is. Oh, that's good, because then all this training can be applied to understanding emptiness, understanding the true nature of existence, understanding dependent origination, really cutting ignorance at its root and developing wisdom, which is what we're trying to do here. Okay, so another way we could do this, we could do the 4 immeasurables, right? This love, wishing that others have happiness. We kind of did it really briefly this morning. Again, a focus on something in order to develop a positive quality. In order to bring this into our perspective, making it integrated into our heart and our life in such a way that it becomes our perspective. So this is really like aspects of bodhicitta, right? Developing bodhicitta, maybe the prerequisites for, or guiding us through some levels of bodhicitta. Compassion, wishing that others be free of suffering. Love, wishing that others have happiness. Joy, wishing that others never again suffer, and equanimity of all living sentient beings. We're going to keep going because we only have a short time now, and really spend a little time on how to apply this in life so that you don't feel like we get to the end of this hour and you're just thrown out on the street on your own. And the theory is to make use of appropriate methods, such as mindfulness verses, to support and reinforce mindfulness in daily life. So we're going to look at some specific ways to do this application of mindfulness in daily life. We've done some. We've walked with mindfulness. You can eat with mindfulness. You can do any daily activity with mindfulness, paying attention to the physical sensations, right? And eliminating all of the extra irrelevant thoughts that just arise around that. So you can practice mindfulness just as we practiced the very first exercise of walking and feeling the touch on the feet. Breathing is something we do all the time. How many breaths do we take a day? 21,000 or something? However many breaths we take a day, we could be aware of each one of those, right? So we have an infinite number of ways. There's an infinite number of ways right there. Any touch that we're feeling, any sight that we're seeing, any sound we're hearing, any breath we're taking, all of those could become an activity of practicing mindfulness. But if we have this desire to take mindfulness from just that immediate, present, non-judgmental awareness of what's happening in our sensory experience, into training in concentration, training in developing wisdom and concentration, in order to actualize this state of full potential, we might want to also have some sort of verses for kind of verses for kind of symbolically bringing our minds into for some reason. So maybe you have it in front of you, and I don't. Well, no, it's okay. It's okay, Tal. So these are some phrases, these are some verses, these are some ways of practicing in the daily life, right? And so I wanted to kind of point out, you can do this sort of make it a habit as you wake up, first thing, like the Dalai Lama is talking about. Just thinking, I am so fortunate to have this opportunity to be alive and to have this existence as a human. I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to use all my energies to develop myself, to expand my heart, and achieve enlightenment for the benefit of all sentient beings. So you can kind of do, like, when you first are aware that you're conscious, it's like a mindfulness of being conscious. And then using that first moment of being conscious to set your motivation, to set your appreciation for what you have, and your goal for what you're doing with it. Lama Zopa Rinpoche has given even more extensive than these three, but if you are able to take a daily activity, I'm washing my hands. I'm washing my hands of all the stains of negative thought, or whatever it is that you want to say. I'm washing away all the stains of the delusions of all sentient beings when you're washing anything. So you can use symbolic thinking, and then your mindfulness of I am doing something also becomes that cultivating of a positive idea. So you can have the mindfulness of the physical and pulling in a positive quality that you want to enhance for yourself. When you offer incense, so incense is connected in this kind of understanding in Buddhism about the karma of certain actions. Offering incense and having a pure smell is associated with morality. So every time you have a pleasant smell, you can think, I am experiencing the result of some morality in my past. And every time you have a unpleasant smell or an uninteresting smell. An unpleasant smell is the result of a negative, non-ethical action. And then you can think, how good, it's just manifesting as a smell. And you can be happy that it smells bad. Because then you're like eliminating that negative karma in a very easy way. You know. So these kinds of techniques of having a physical experience that's the anchor for a positive quality that you want to develop in yourself. And so you can pick one, and then you can work on that. And then once that becomes natural, once every day for a month you've woken up and first thing you've thought is, may all sentient beings achieve the state of a Buddha? Wow. A month of that, maybe move on to the next one and add it in or something. There are more of these. Any kinds of, there used to be, we would read this book, a Zen book about chop wood, carry water, that phrase, chop wood, carry water. So it's more like you're just being mindful of your daily activity by being mindful of what you're doing. You're not adding in anything else. So you can do mindfulness in both ways. You can do it just simply as physical action and being aware of what that is, or you can use any physical action as an anchor for a symbolic idea. Water and sun, green, these plants, when the rain of compassion falls, even a desert becomes an immense green ocean. So when you see a desert, you can think of how Thich Nhat Hanh. Yeah. How compassion brings the bloom of greenery wherever, whatever the appearance is. It's not relying on the actual sun, the actual water. Compassion can be there without those things. And taking what we just did in terms of the these towards ourselves, then taking that for others. May those beings around you. So when you see someone around you, if you do this training for yourself and get it very kind of close to your heart, and then when you're seeing someone and you're noticing any kind of other irrelevant emotion arising, instantly just reverting to, may you be safe, may you live safely, may you be happy, may you be healthy, may you have ease in your life. And reverting to that feeling and being mindful of that.
There's also another angle which I find very beneficial of mindfulness, and that's being mindful of our feelings at a given moment. For instance, when you're happy, be mindful of the fact that you're happy at that moment, and at the same time that you're happy, spontaneously wish for everyone to be happy. I taught that to my children even before I started studying Buddhism. to show them that how important and rare it is to really feel happy and to share it. So that's one thing that I use and I find very helpful. And another physical aspect of mindfulness is when you're really sick or ill, like what happened to me 3 weeks ago, for instance. I felt so miserable, and so, I really pitied myself, right? And then I said, okay, I feel so miserable, so everyone's, who feels like that, may it rise upon me, it's like Tom Lang, but a lot lighter, because it's just being mindful of a certain situation and making some benefit out of it. So it's another angle of being mindful also.
So similar to these, if this situation arises, if you're washing your hands, you think this kind of symbolism. If you're sick, you think this. So it's another one of these examples. May everybody else who's sick not be sick anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you press play on
Please, don't. Let's not look at all that other stuff. We have a little bit of time to do one more practice, but I thought we could just make sure that we have sort of a list that we're ready to take with us, right? So what of all of what we've done, what resonates with you? What is it that feels comfortable, that that you think, yeah, I can definitely do that on my own. I'd like to do that again in terms of being mindful.
The whole package.
The whole package.
Yes, everything.
Everything. So what are those things?
Awareness, the techniques with it, the motivation, first of all, the motivation to it,
Okay.
the different practices, techniques in order to keep it, to do it compassionate towards myself.
Nice. So what about listing? What have we done?
Setting the intention.
Set the intention, be compassionate to the self. Motivate.
The techniques you told us, that we did together about the breathing, for instance. When Benny talked about that in the last meditation, he used the breathing method as well. I said to myself, that would keep me en route, focused. So that's something I really want to try with the mental object together with the, so I'm planning on trying that.
Well, maybe we can all try.
So, for example.
Okay. Any others we should add to our list?
I agree with Benny, but I think that the four immeasurables are the most clear for me.
Taking those and focusing on those.
Which are mental, right?
Yeah.
They're mental.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody want to add anything to our list?
I took working with curiosity and trying not to know what's going to happen in the meditation, on the breath, like underneath the nose, and also easing up and try to focus the motivation before to be also gentle with myself. And also the body scan was quite new because every time I learn it, it's a bit different, so it was a nice body scan.
I have it's kind of a question, but it comes to something that I'm taking here to investigate. We when you mentioned, and I mentioned for myself as well, positive, when we're saying positive, and it's a judgment, it's a dualistic, so it's not right to say this what I would like to have in my mind instead of what's positive and negative, or enter this, for the other part, the other thoughts, other concepts that I don't want to have in my mind, I don't even want to. So it's not positive or negative because the other person can think it is positive. I'm working now about the word positive, that like we holding the positive and the other thing that comes up is negative. So this delicate awareness, I'm trying to clear it up.
So if your only experience is painful or unpleasant, either you're wired so that is what you want to continue, or you're wired for pleasure and your experiencing is painful, then you turn away from it eventually, right? So in the beginning, the issue of positive is, in order to have a continuation of it, you build some pleasant feedback system into it, all right? So then you smile at the end, you rejoice in your own efforts, you feel good about, and you see the progress. In the developing of positive, wholesome qualities aspect of the positiveness, you're discerning what is functional and what is dysfunctional. You're doing the analysis first. You're deciding what it is you're going to adopt as your closest attitudes, and you're focusing on putting energy into developing those. Just like you're developing concentration or wisdom, you're also developing the positive qualities, the wholesome qualities that bring good effects for yourself and for others. So you do make that judgment, but you do it very carefully, not in a judgmental way, but in a, here, this is what's really beneficial, this is what's really functional, and these other things are not right now beneficial, and they're not right now functional.
And if you add to that the attachment where you see it,
so all of this is like all of Buddhism. It's like a spiral. If you get further along in the path of understanding any part of it, it informs the next step of whatever you're starting on. It's all interrelated, and so if you have a progression of understanding what is personally beneficial, and then beneficial for a long period of time, and beneficial for more and more other people to have benefit, whatever is functional is going to change along those lines. But the skill of mindfulness is going to be transferable amongst these. So I think not to worry so much. I mean, if you're really a beginner, you're not aware of all of the nuances of what's coming, and that's okay, right? And then as you get more and more familiar with different aspects, then you make your best judgment as you're going. And if you have a teacher, a guru, then you are in relation to that. That aspect. If you don't, then you're doing it on your own, and it's fine. So I predicted some possible takeaways, and I wrote them down.
Good one. This I did see it ever.
This is what?
This is the first time I see it.
Yeah,
So
me too.
it's
It's
nice.
nice. Very nice.
This slide, this title of the slide.
Okay.
The question is there.
Yeah.
To have it on slides, beautiful.
So I didn't take your curiosity isn't here, but you can bring it here. Walking, sitting, standing, lying down, remembering to set a timer and taking any of these postures and notice physical sensory input. That's one option. Doing the body scan, record yourself. I made a recording of myself to do a practice too, right? And then I realized you could make a recording of your own body scan and then sit and meditate with your own voice saying it. Because I find personally that when somebody else is doing a body scan, I either am lulled into some sort of a state of trance, or I have so much resistance to their voice that I don't want to listen to it. So you do the recording of your own voice and lead yourself through it. Breathing meditation as an object, as a repeated project. You're going to do this as often as you want, right? Deepening mindful capacity. So make sure you're setting that intention clearly to just experience the sensations. That's the curiosity. It is there, it's just not in the word curiosity. Watch the mind everywhere without identifying with the thoughts. Use images such as clouds in the sky or waves in the ocean. So we can compare the mind to the sky, and then the thoughts as coming in and going out of the sky, coming into our field of perception and being aware of them for as long as they're there, and then they're gone.
The clouds.
The clouds. And similarly, the ocean, and you think about the depth of the ocean and how underneath the surface, it's not the roughness of the waves. There's motion there, but it's not the same rough motion as the waves. And so identifying with the ocean rather than the waves. Identifying with the mind rather than the content of the mind that's stirred up. So you can use images such as this to kind of hold the feeling of your meditation rather than like instructions in words, right? Cultivate meditation on the four immeasurables and loving kindness. Use daily activities as symbols for clearing the mind and for mindful consideration of topics, or for positive, wholesome
Thank you for the
qualities. So there we have. Wow, we're coming to the end. We're coming to this actual end of the course. We haven't done enough meditation. We did several meditations that were quite short. And that's also advised, to do shorter meditations. And just train the mind with 4 minutes, 7 minutes, 15 minutes is a long time. An hour is like impossible. And it's not impossible, but I mean, to take that as the beginning point, which is what we do in like Zen, Zazen, you know, you're sitting for a whole hour, not moving, perfectly straight, and the mind completely focused on awareness. Well, maybe it's a little bit more effective to start small and build to that point. Building it up.
For half an hour, scanning our body, right?
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. And it felt like nothing. Until afterwards, and then we were all riled up. So, let's do, in dedication, as part of the process of the dedication, let's do a meditation on the four immeasurables. So settling into your posture, your position on the cushion or the chair. Establish a stable base. Settle the nervous system into a comfortable position. That means the spine and the head are in relation to each other. All the nerves are unraveled. And the breath sits in the rib cage and the belly with ease. The shoulders are even. Any muscles that are tense are acknowledged. And encouraged to be released. The hands are in a posture to remind us of our intention for mindfulness. The chin is slightly tucked, the tongue is behind the teeth, the eyes are slightly opened. So there's no dullness, not completely opened, so there's no distraction. We notice our breath. And as we breathe in the thought, may I be happy. As we breathe out the thought, may all sentient beings be happy. May I be happy. May all sentient beings be happy. May I have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May I have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings have happiness and its cause. Just the breath. And breathing in, may I be free of suffering. Breathing out, may all sentient beings be free of suffering. May I be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May I be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. And just the breath. And then on the in-breath, may I have the joy that knows no suffering. And the out-breath, may all sentient beings have joy that knows no suffering. May I have joy that knows no suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings have joy that knows no suffering and its causes. May I have joy that knows no suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings have joy that knows no suffering and its causes. And then just the breath. And then on the in-breath, may I have equanimity, free of attachment and anger, due to holding some close and others distant. And the out-breath, may all sentient beings have equanimity, free of attachment and anger, due to holding some close and others distant. May I have equanimity, free of attachment and anger, due to holding some close and others distant. May all sentient beings have equanimity, free of attachment and anger, due to holding some close and others distant. May I have equanimity, free of attachment and anger, due to holding some close and others distant. May all sentient beings have equanimity, free of attachment and anger, due to holding some close and others distant. Just the breath. So as a dedication of all of our efforts, from the depths of our heart, like a seal imprinted in wax that verifies all of this effort is intended for enlightenment. May the precious bodhicitta, which has not arisen, arise and grow. May the compassion and bodhicitta which has arisen know no decline but increase more and more. Thinking how without others I wouldn't exist. Without objects I wouldn't have a mind. Without other beings I wouldn't have practice for my mind. Everything that I have arises in dependence on others. Everything that I am arises in dependence on others. So everything that I do is made powerful by the presence of others. Practicing in this way, nothing is wasted. Every moment counts. By training my mind, all of this energy will become the cause for the transformation of my mind into its most highest, most beneficial state. And I do this in order to be of benefit to a great number of beings, uncountable others, that I wish to have happiness, wish to be free of suffering, wish to be liberated, and wish to be in the state of equanimity. So thank you very much for all of your efforts. Please smile and enjoy and produce those positive feedbacks in yourself so that you do this a lot and become quickly enlightened for the benefit of everyone else around you.